Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Ancora, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Wild Remedies podcast. Today, we are chatting with Cian Dalton. He is a breathwork facilitator, a stretch therapist, and a former professional boxer, and the first Wim Hof instructor in British Columbia, here in Canada. He owns and operates the Stretch Space, which is a stretch therapy and breathwork studio in Vancouver, and he owns that with his wife, Carolyn. He also has a variety of diverse careers and has worked as an engineer in the field of wind power. It's really cool. We dive into Cian's all the professions that he's done over his life. It's really neat because he has experienced a lot of change. And we've talked about this in a few episodes now about the potency of change in our lives. So big moves, all of those things can create a lot of stress for people, but it can cause or create a lot of resiliency as well. One really cool thing too is when Cian was an engineer, he was studying the airflow and how to extract energy from air with wind turbines. And that really kind of informed him when he got into breath work. We're going to talk about why we think breath work works the way it does. For me, I'm just like, it's straight magic. It's like a mystery school. He kind of agrees with that as well, but he also has like a biology lens to that as well. We talk about some principles to wellness, what those foundations are, and then stretching. So like the type of stretching that they do at the Stretch Space is a lot different than what you would typically think stretching is, and what the potency in that is for all of us. So I'm just going to leave it at that for this intro. Short and sweet this time. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. And as always, let us know what you think. So let's meet Cian. Hi, guys. Just a quick PSA to let you know that our magic elixirs have gone down in price, and we're keeping it that way. Same amazing quality with real plant extracts and nutraceuticals, like the ceramides in our Glow Potion that legit plump your skin. And speaking of quality, this is something that is really important to me, and that's why all of our products are crafted with medicinal grade extracts. Unfortunately, a lot of herbal blend brands out there are simply using ground plants that are not extracts. This means that you get very little benefit if you're just blending them up in a milk or a smoothie or throwing them in your morning coffee. Herbal plant medicine needs to be extracted in order to be effective, kind of like tea, which is an infusion, for example. So you need to steep the botanicals in hot water over time to extract the volatile oils that then become bioavailable to your body. So how do you know if a company is using an extract or not? It's pretty simple. They generally clearly state it. It'll be listed as a ratio on the packaging. Like, for example, the 3-to-1 chaga extract in our spiced chocolate potion. We also have a 20-to-1 passion flower extract in our relaxation potion. So very, very easy to distinguish. And actually, speaking of chaga mushroom, make sure that you're getting wild sourced and not cultivated. Otherwise, you're missing out on like the majority of the good stuff, which comes from the birch trees that they're meant to grow on. We use wild Siberian chaga mushroom, and it is the best. So extracts are more expensive, yeah, but it's a lot better to invest in something that works than throwing your money away on something that doesn't, right? Rant over. I'm just seeing this so much in the industry right now, and we need to call it out so we can do better as medicine makers. And so we're able to make better decisions as consumers. So if you feel called, check out our collection of high vibe elixirs that support your immunity, skin health, and stress levels at wildremedieshop.com. All right, Cian, welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today. How are you?
I'm great. Enjoying some vitamin D today. It's a beautiful day here in Vancouver.
Yay!
Thanks
I'm so
for having
excited
me.
to hear that. Is it going to be nice next week? Do you know? I'm going to be in Vancouver for a week.
You know, I didn't look past this week, but I know it's got a few good days coming up.
I hope so. Are the cherry blossoms out yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yay!
Actually, we had some people in an ice bath on Sunday, and there was one participant in particular who was locked in on the cherry blossoms to help him feel some good vibes. some
Aw,
spring energy.
I love that. Yeah, you guys get spring about a month earlier than we do here in Kelowna.
Uh-huh.
And so I always love coming down to Vancouver around this time because it's like we're starting to warm up here, but I get to come to Vancouver and there's going to be green things and flowers and that just gives me so much life. I'm so excited.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I've been really looking forward to this conversation that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
have today about breath work and stretching and all of those things. But before we dive into that, I want to talk about some of the drastic changes that you've had in your life. I know that
Mm-hmm.
things were a lot different for you when you were younger
Mm-hmm.
and pretty inspirational. So why don't we start there?
Sure. Yeah, it's a big part of my story. Something I'm really stepping into is moving beyond this drive for drastic shifts and big changes. I think part of that came from moving around a lot as a kid and an adult, getting used to big changes, getting comfortable with that, and making big career changes. I worked in wind power, sort of engineering science type work, studying air. I switched over to professional boxing, and then I came into Vancouver. Did more restorative work and healing work. But yeah, part of the story is that I had a boom bust cycle of growth, and I would
Hmm.
kind of slack off and coast a bit until something really needed to happen, and then I would work hard and urgently at things, anything from exams to fitness. Boxing, of course, was great because there was a consequence to not training hard, and that is I would get beaten up. And I also learned about breathing in boxing too. That if I didn't breathe properly, there would be a consequence. But then when I stopped boxing, thinking that I feel amazing, I think I'm good to go here. I quickly realized that that drive to train hard was challenging to find without a major consequence or a threat. And so that's something I'm stepping more into now, just really appreciating what I have. I'm really grounded in Vancouver. I love the work I do. I'm married. I have a kid. We bought some land. Just really dialing in on the things that I already have that are great and making small daily changes to improve those.
Hmm. Okay, well let's talk about the pro boxing
Hmm.
part. So I didn't know this about you. Um, let's go all the way back to like first, where are you from and like how did you get into boxing? Like why did you choose boxing?
Hmm. That's a good question. Well, I'm from Ireland, born and raised in Ireland. I'm about 15 years over here. I was a little less than half the time in the US, and then the rest of the time here in Vancouver. Yeah, in the US, I went there for engineering, then ended up quitting my job and went back to a childhood passion of boxing, something that I felt was unfinished. And I went back boxing out of just frustration from sitting at a desk, just feeling imprisoned in my body a bit, just needed to really express some energy. And then when I went back in, it was the perfect storm of great coaching. I was living in Pittsburgh at the time, good old working town, hardy people there, and everything aligned. And I kind of unleashed some energy, or you could say some fury, just some ferociousness came through me that was stifled in the office. And so that took off from there. How I got into boxing in Ireland, the kind of tamer version is that I was in a small town and I was a little bit bored, and me and my brother decided to go to a boxing gym at one point. There was a guy, a professional in Ireland, doing quite well at the time. His name was Steve Collins, the Celtic
Mm.
Warrior, and so it was quite alive in the country, exciting, and yeah, we just ended up going there. But later in my personal growth journey, I did connect it back to some violence that I witnessed in the family growing up. and that was what drove me to learn how to defend myself. I didn't know that at the time, but subconsciously there was something that me and my brother witnessed. An incident that was hard for us, and I think we both were drawn to learn to defend.
Mm-hmm.
That all came together like only in my early 30s that I piece all that together.
Okay. Interesting. So we went from boxing to engineering, and now we're working in kind of like personal growth and breath work and body work. Like that's a lot of change. Seems to be a bit of a theme in your life, right? Like lots of move,
Yeah,
not lots of change. And now you're kind of, I don't know if I would say stationary, but you feel like a little bit more grounded right now.
definitely. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel I've been living in the same city for 8 years. That's actually the longest I've ever lived anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just deepening friendships, and just getting a reputation for what I do. Rather than starting afresh somewhere is exciting, and you get this new energy, and you can change some habits, and but they end up coming back. I realized, you can move to a new place, you get this fresh start, people don't know you. I really thrived off that energy, to be honest. I was really good at that, at meeting people, and but then the really deepening the connection is something that I'm wanting to lean into more now that I'm really
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel that, and I really identify with it as well. I've moved a lot in my life as well. And, like, yeah, literally, I've lived all over the world. And for a while, it was a big part of my identity. I felt
Mm.
like my life was boring or it wasn't worthwhile unless I was constantly moving. Community was something that was always difficult for me. I would have it for a little bit and then I would lose it. And it's something that I always craved. But there is an aspect of like needing to be in one place and create those relationships over time in order to, you know, get out. Like you need to put in what you want to get out of a community. And if you're moving
Hmm.
around a lot, that's tough. But that's always my go-to as well. Like, oh, if things aren't feeling great or I'm uncomfortable, I'm just gonna burn it down and leave.
Yeah, yeah, and it's freeing. There's a freedom that comes with that too. That feels really nice. You can just at any moment. Yeah, I used to never have any leases. I used to always have like month to month
Yeah.
phone. I did a lot of backpacking before I started my office job too, and I was always ready to go. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but now, if especially with the world situation too, I feel there is that definite possibility to run again or to move and
Mm-hmm.
start afresh for a lot of reasons. But
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely just committed to this is where I'm staying, and this is where it's gonna. This is where the growth is happening for me too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I guess to bring it back, like I kind of needed a bit of a push to work, and then once that, if you put my back against the wall, I'll work hard and fast and get a lot of stuff done. But that created kind of a hectic energy that just it was just a bit erratic. And like boxing was a bit like that too. So I've really been trying to just embody or embrace the desire to thrive, just to thrive, to be our true selves, to remember who we are. And I feel like that push has come back in the last few years. So
Mm-hmm.
that urge that I kind of sometimes really needed to really wake up, um, it's come in the last few years with all that's been going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that yeah.
I see what you mean there. I know there has definitely been something that awoke in me in the past few years as well, where it was like finding your people and building community is more important than ever in a world where there's a lot of division,
Mm.
and the focus on health and healing. is just so important right now.
Yeah.
And people are just starving for something different, for a new way. And you know, it sounds like you've been through a lot of shit in your life, right? You've experienced a lot and you've gone through the
Hmm.
things and have done the transformative stuff that it takes. It's tough. Not everybody is at that same level, but getting to that point allows you to be in service of others who are going to be reaching out for help, right? So it's just kind of, we have these different times in our life where we are searching for things, and times where we need to be more grounded and be in service. And
Yeah.
it sounds like that's what's happening right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can search where we are as well, that all
Mm-hmm.
that we're looking for, all the mentors are available in Vancouver, all the growth opportunities, the nature. I mean, in BC as well. Like, I just know where I am, of course, but I just think a lot of the things that I seek far away and these big experiences are also available every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's, yeah.
it's true. And I've had this conversation with friends before too, where I've seen this pattern of like constantly moving in order to, you know, maybe run away from problems or to just have new experiences. And I know what I learned when, you know, I was doing that and hoping to feel more alive by constantly moving,
Hmm.
was that you just carry all those problems with you into into the next space that you're in.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, unless you really do the work to like address it, it's like it's just going to follow you wherever you go.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot of growth that comes through it too, right?
Hmm.
The problems, certain problems come back, but don't get me wrong, you can be quite successful as well, like with changing and all that. And like, it can be really rewarding in many ways, but ultimately, I think, yeah, there's so much power in consistent, small, micro improvements to things.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the simple ways and the simple life are not really dramatized or shown in the movies. How many Netflix shows are showing us, a family living on land doing arts and crafts and gardening and that, and people would say it's not exciting, but I'd like to see
Yeah.
that movie more, and yeah, there's a lot of drama on TV that's pulling us towards, yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of experiences that we might not always need.
Yeah. Well, it's just juicing up the nervous system, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been experiencing that as well. Yeah, I've been experiencing that more recently too, and been very curious about how I've been reacting to certain things recently. Like, there's actually a lot of turbulence going on in my external life right now.
Hmm.
And, you know, I'm a person that generally thrives on chaos, but I usually do through it, right? I'm like, okay, problem, need to fix it. Like, go harder, drive harder, do all of these things. And in this case, and I mean, I'm very, very grateful that I have a lot of support, and have community now, because I've been in one place for more than
Hmm.
like a year. Um, and so I'm held in that, which I'm very grateful for. But it's so odd. I've just been feeling really, really deep peace and doing much less than I would normally do. So instead of like
Hmm.
going into panic mode and doing all this stuff to fix everything, I don't know, I've just been overwhelmed with this sense of peace and knowing that there's something really good happening on the other side of these experiences that from the outside might look negative. And yeah, it's been a really beautiful experience. I'm just moving much more slowly, you know, like, okay, today's, you know, there's a few hard things that are going to come up, and I'm just going to move through those with as much grace as I can, and I'm not going to be hard on myself, and I'm not going to push myself and hurt my body through this experience by getting my nervous system all revved up and
Hmm.
all of these things, and wreck all of the healing, you know, that I've been doing for, you know, many years, but especially within the last few months. And that's been a really big paradigm shift, and feels really good.
Yeah. How
Hmm.
did you come to that shift? How did that all of a sudden become your response to these events?
I don't know, man. Like, okay, so much crazy shit has happened just in the past month. So I don't know if it's like energetic. I threw a pretty big mushroom journey in the middle of that. I had some illness and then some health, and so, like, there's been so much. I honestly feel like I've just been thrown around inside. Like, I've been in a dryer, just tumbling,
Mm,
tumbling, tumbling. But it's also something that I experience frequently in my life. And I think a lot of it is just due to like my astrology and just things that I'm meant to experience in this life. Um, and so I've been in many hard circumstances before. And I feel like my job is to learn how to just let go in those situations. Um, and I just have a lot of faith too. You know, I work with some really amazing people. Like, instead of working with business mentors, I work with like psychics and stuff. And they're like, they're not telling me what's going to happen, but there is, some assurance,
mhm,
just in the sense of this is just a process that you need to go through, and you are supported no matter what. There is happiness on the other side of this. And just keep keep your eye on your goals, right?
mhm,
There, it's a real practice, and all of the things that I've spent the past decade or more learning about, quantum physics and spirituality and all of those things, this really feels like an opportunity to practice all of that. And we're presented with so much information, and we can spend a lot of time studying and listening to podcasts and all of these things,
yeah.
but not often do we get an opportunity to actually put all of those things into practice. And I feel like it's
Mm,
all kind of coming together, but I do feel like there was a pretty big shift, not in my personality, but I think something to do with the mushroom journey that I did recently. That's just really made all of my fucks fly away. I just have very
yeah.
few fucks about things right now. And I'm like, maybe I should give more fucks. I don't think I'm being irresponsible, but it's just strange because I'm like, I should be freaking out, but I'm not. And this is kind of cool. This is a good space to be in right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, doesn't suck.
Yeah, sounds like you're becoming more your true self by giving less fucks.
I think so. This is
Nice.
what I mean with all of the spirituality and all of the things that I've been studying. This is kind of the point that you want to get to, right? Where it's like what they teach in Buddhism, right? Like, just
Yeah,
let these things happen, inner peace,
yeah.
all of that stuff. And yeah, like, not every day is still great. Like, there's still little bits of anxiety and stuff that come up, but I'm able to just kind of watch it and be like, okay, I see what this is. I know it's not, it's temporary. Let it pass.
Hmm.
And there's happiness on the other side and contentment on the other side. So it's just kind of like this dance that I'm allowing to
Hmm.
move through right now. Yeah.
It's kind of what's going on collectively too. Perhaps there's so much throwing us off, and you can get so worried about the banking system or about the other systems, and then there's a kind of a letting go
Hmm.
that, like, what can we do? Only focus back on ourselves.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. It doesn't matter what's happening externally. Like, we're always going to be okay.
Hmm.
That's a big lesson, and it's tough because we can fight it, but a lot of times, I mean, I'm a believer in fate and destiny and all of those things, and racking my little brain and my ego being like, how do all of these things work? Like, what exactly is free will and what isn't, and what are things that are just, destined from the time that we come in to happen. And now I'm
Hmm.
just like, I think it's both, right? And my spirit chose this on some level for a certain reason, and I'm just gonna let it happen. And something amazing always happens when you go through these, turbulent times. There's always, you get out to the other side and you're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that needed to happen for this reason, and now all these other
Hmm.
amazing things can come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we talked about like your beginnings a little bit. How did you start getting into personal growth and wellness?
Hmm. Yeah, that goes back quite a while actually. I would connect that with my younger brother who has autism.
Hmm.
He has more severe autism, nonverbal. So growing up with him was I learned a lot from him, but we also as a family went to the U.S. to a place called the Autism Treatment Center of America, and but basically when my parents went there, they instead of working more with my brother, they actually do a lot of work with the parents and their mindset and their
Mm.
beliefs. And so from that, they taught adult education programs, basically personal growth, and that was a big intro for me. Is my parents were doing that, and it was helping my brother, and I was being exposed to it. And then in my early 20s, I went to some programs there. I went to well, first I listened to tons of audio and stuff from these people, and then went to like an extraordinary man program with my dad, which was cool.
Oh, neat.
That was a big catalyst for me, and then that was the jumping off point. It was deep personal growth, really, from
Hmm.
what I'm seeing today and how big this field is now.
Hmm.
This was like heavy personal growth, really getting in there with masters, is what
Wow.
it felt like. So it was a good launching off point. I didn't fully integrate a lot of all the work because I kind of had these two sort of lives. I felt like I still was in my peer driven kind of way of being. I did my boxing and stuff, so I kind of had a private life of personal growth. I was reading certain books, but I didn't really bring it back into my social circles and really like embody that work that much. That was part of the gap for me, was the integration. And I would say Wim Hof, getting into the Wim Hof stuff, Wim really kind of showed me a way of embodying that and integrating all of that. You could, doing fun, exciting things that seemed kind of cool, but also being quite open and spiritual. And
Hmm.
yeah, so that was another really good bridge for me to launch into it fully, just fully
Hmm.
be that kind of way.
Was your first breath work experience with Wim Hof, or like how were you introduced to breath work?
Yeah, it was not with Wim Hof. I'd heard of him while I was boxing professionally on some podcasts and
Hmm.
was aware of ice baths for athletes. So it was a very superficial level of interest. But when I finished my last boxing fight, professional fight, a week later, I was in Vancouver and I was back in an office. And this time I was like, this is not going to last. I am not going to be able to do this again. Just the contrast from that excitement
Hmm.
in the US, in California, actually training with the best guys in the world. And back at the desk, I just knew something had to change and got sent on a work trip into Ontario midwinter on my own in the snow. And I was just like, this is it. Like, so I basically Googled like personal growth, Vancouver, and found
Hmm.
a workshop there that was called the Mastery of Self Expression. And that title intimidated me, and it was targeted more for actors. Initially, that program, it still is, but they have one for regular people. Long story short, we expressed all the emotions, not just the ones you like, but all the anger and all that. And then on the last day, I was told to show up with a blanket and a pillow and don't eat. And I did a deep breathwork session. It was more of the rebirthing style of
Hmm.
breathing. Um, and it was phenomenal for me. I had just, well, one thing is my fist locked, probably from my boxing or something. I could not open my hand, and somebody, a facilitator, helped pry it open. And once that opened, I just had a rush of energy and electricity through my body that was just out of this world. And then I cried a lot for the first time, and all I could remember was 10 years. I just let go of a lot of sadness. And then I started to see the stories that I created in my life, and how it seemed like I was just putting boulders in front of my path to create obstacles. And then I laughed hysterically at that way of going about life. It had the cosmic giggle, and that was for me just a powerful entry to breathwork. And I just was shocked that air could do that, because I studied air energy through turbines as well for years, and which is kind of ironic to spend so much time studying machines and not much on my own body. And that was part of my transition too. But I just remember thinking I can never unknow what just happened with air, just fresh air. And I just said I'll never walk away from breathwork. I'll never let my mind diminish that and forget that experience. And I just kept signing up for things I saw, and yeah, followed the path and met with Wim, and became his first teacher in BC, and then trained in other breathwork as well.
That's so wild. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've had some pretty profound breathwork experiences myself, not at that level. It's interesting because I also get the tetany. So, like, my hands claw up and like my feet. And I thought that that was just part of the process. That's what everyone's told me. They're like, oh, yeah, that's just a thing that your body does. Um, but that's so powerful that you sort of had a similar experience, but it was metaphoric to your life and all
yeah,
of the fighting that you've done. And then by somebody prying your hand open, you just had like this huge emotional release. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. There's different thoughts on that and technique and that, but yeah, for me it was that, there was that holding on. There was a holding on to something that just didn't want to let go. I believe it was in one hand more than the other as well. I believe it was in my dominant hand, and yeah, there was just a strong fight in me, and there still is a little bit of fight in me at times, but yeah, there was just a lot in the nervous system that wanted to fight, and that was part of that letting go. But I also knew nothing about breathwork then, so my breath mechanics, who knows what I was doing. I was just huffing and puffing and going for it like I was in a boxing match or something. But yeah, relaxing the exhale, can help balance it out. Active inhale with a more relaxed exhale. Hmm.
What is your opinion on tetany? Like what do you think that is?
I think that, you know, similar to the cold, the hands get coldest, the feet get coldest. They're furthest from the heart. And as we breathe in that way, in that conscious connected way, where we're focusing on the inhale more, and the exhales are letting go, we're getting a lot of oxygen. And as we oxygenate, we're constricting blood vessels, we're getting vasoconstriction. As we hold the breath, we're getting the opposite, blood vessels are opening. So things start to tighten up, as you breathe that way. It's not a natural way to breathe. It's a breathing exercise, a healing exercise. And it's giving the cardiovascular system a strong workout. And so as blood vessels tighten a bit, the furthest from the heart, teeny tiny capillaries are where we'll feel it the most. There's also just the way of looking at it as energy is moving in the body, and energy can show up as many forms. Heat, tension. The hands are where we express a lot, and they're an extension of the heart chakra. So there's a lot of reasons it shows up in the hands, but you could
Interesting.
you could explain it more scientifically or more spiritually.
I'm definitely interested in the spiritual aspect, like especially because of that experience that you had. I've never put that together. I always thought, and the way that it's been explained to me is that it's just what your body does, it's just science. But from what you just explained, having your hand opened and that release, now I'm thinking that, okay, there's something else there to be explored. Because that happens to me every time. I mean, I have to do a fairly long session, like well over 30 minutes, in order for that to happen. And generally, I just do shorter practices at home. I kind of need
Hmm.
somebody to help me get to that point because it can be kind of exhausting, right? Like
Yeah,
I feel like I need to do it in like a group scenario and have a drum or something in order to like
yeah,
make it through to that point. But yeah, it's like it happens to me every time, and yeah, now I wonder if there's something else there.
yeah. Set and setting will enhance the medicine of the breath. Being witnessed tends to enhance it as well. Just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the group energy, like you mentioned, and the music and all that. Because
Mm-hmm.
breathwork is simple but not always easy. We are the ones that are breathing, so we're different to plant medicine where we take the medicine and off we go on the journey. Breathwork, we're meeting the medicine every breath, and every breath we can breathe more or less. We have our foot on the gas pedal, so the
Mm-hmm.
subconscious is crafty. It tends to it might want to pull us back as we get close to something, especially when we're on our own. But in the group, you can get into that more of a trance, hearing other people's breath and the music and the energy, and you get more into the experience.
Yeah.
But as you feel that, you can choose, of course, to ease off the breath if it's feeling a lot. If you're in good hands with good facilitators, you can be like, what, I'm going to see what this is, and just continue to breathe into it, relaxing the exhale as what as something comes up. Can we still keep regulated and breathe into it, but it relax. Breathe into it,
Mm,
curiosity, but then let go, and not kind of like resist it so much. Yeah, and just
mhm.
get curious. What is this? Where do I feel it? Yeah,
Yeah. Also curious on what your opinion is on how this actually works. Like, how does just breathing unlock so much inside of us?
yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of wisdom traditions that have used like pranayama, for example, in yoga, using breath of fire and kundalini and all of those things. So it's something that's been used for thousands of years in other cultures. In the West, I think it's a little bit different and new for a lot of us. But it's like, is it some sort of like spiritual alchemy? Like, is it magic? Is it, just
Hmm.
bio whatever? Like what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, breath is the source of life. It's the most important thing that we do. And the hierarchy of needs, it's air, water, food. That's the order. Air comes first. That's what will kill us within minutes,
Mm.
without doing it. So naturally, it can produce a lot of energy, and we our breath responds to every emotion, every life experience. So as we go through life, our easeful, natural breath pattern that we might come into the world with most of the time, can start to change and shift, and we start to rather than breathe into an emotion, you might start to kind of breathe away from it and sort of stuff things down, because breathing helps you feel. So anyway, the breath pattern just changes over life, and how we breathe, how we live. So when we start to bring the breath back to how we were when we were younger, it can bring up some stuff. It really helps us to feel. Breathing helps us to feel a lot of what we're not feeling. We need to feel it to heal it. So as we feel stuff, energy moves. I mean, there's so many ways we can go about looking at this, but as we connect the breath in and out without a pause, we're creating more of a flow of energy. So energy can kind of flow through the body, versus like pausing the breath, holding the breath at the top, breathing kind of erratically as you respond to life. Something happens. Oh, there's my boss being a little bit hard on me. Gonna hold my breath. Well, in the breath session, that thought might come up about the boss, but hey, let's just breathe into that and let it go, and breathe into that and let it go. So
Mm-hmm.
rather than avoid feeling it, we're leaning into it. Um, yeah, I can stir up memories, as we start to breathe more how we might have breathed as a kid, or we're allowing the energy to flow through us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we're also balancing out the hemispheres of the brain. We're breathing into the belly, which is our instincts, connecting that up into the heart, into the intuition and thinking mind. So everything starts to work together in one synchronized unit, and magic happens through that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the other answer is it's it's a mystery in some ways, right? It's just what we do as humans. It's we breathe. That's what we do. Fish swim in water. We move through air,
Mm-hmm.
and we take it for granted. That this is our source of life. It's not food. It's air.
Mm-hmm.
And there are supposedly people that live without food. Live off air.
Breatharians, yeah.
Yeah. So I doesn't I like my food and all that, but the idea of that is very interesting to me. That might be a possibility. I don't know. I believe it. Especially again with the world situation. There's been a lot of energy going into disempowering. Um, and makes me ask the question: how powerful are we?
Mm-hmm.
What can we actually do?
Mm-hmm.
What is the fear of us realizing our full power and potential? It must be off the charts what we actually can, just one person can become. And so
Mm-hmm.
imagine we get a million people like that, and that's what I want to lean into. And it's endless quest. It's the true hero's journey. I don't claim to be any master in it, but I like the idea of being open to that truth of what's possible and what is real, and nudging towards that, and in my new steady way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I, yeah, I see breath work as a form of magic and alchemy. Like we have this tool inside of us that we can use to create really, really powerful changes. And we are very powerful beings. A lot of us just don't realize it. Have you ever read Autobiography of a Yogi?
I was reading that in Mexico just a couple of weeks ago. I didn't get through the whole thing. I borrowed it from a friend, but I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. Yeah,
It takes a while to get through, and you kind of have to be ready for it. I remember the first time I don't know if I had the book or the audio book, but I was just like, ugh, like it wasn't resonating with me at all. And then it kind of came back into my life and I just binged it. Like, I think I had it on audio. And I was actually in Mexico at the time too. I was living in Puerto Vallarta and I just
nice.
became completely obsessed with it and binged the whole thing and really got into Kriya yoga. But it's so cool because, this talks about like actual experiences of like masters of yoga who can do shit like levitate
Yeah,
and like live without food and have a realization that it's time that their life to end and their body can literally just dissolve into like a lotus. Like there's so much stuff out there and a lot of it is documented. Like this is why I'm just so fascinated with mysticism and spirituality and all of these things because it's like it's legit. Like there are really really potent powerful things and all of that just has to do with your belief, right? So like we have really cool tools like our breath and things like that, but coupled with our mindset and what we believe can just create such profound change and healing. It's wild.
yeah,
And we're just kind of at the beginning of it. We're just, well, not at the beginning. I think we've been there before, but we're re-remembering, we're relearning all of this.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, I agree 100%. Just I love that concept of re-remembering, and that's something that's alive in me. The mindset component is huge too. Just the program that's running in our mind is so essential.
Hmm.
I've kind of landed on this formula for health at the moment that just seems I'm really into like being or simplifying things at the moment as I transition towards living on land and that. But the formula that's coming up for me in health is less poison and toxins in the body, as
Mm.
little as possible, a better program running through the mind, and that's kind of our responsibility to take control of the program and what we think, because there's a lot of other people wanting to put different programs in there.
Yep.
And then after from there, it's the hierarchy of needs. It's air, water, food, human connection, movement, and reproduction and all that stuff. Temperature variation is a big one too, to awaken our full capacity of who we are. But that's the priority. How much time are we spending with our breathing, with our air, and it's just at the bottom of the pyramid. And a lot of people are spending time at the top doing self-actualization when they don't feel safe or they're not breathing right.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
just breathing made a lot of sense to me. Just as an athlete, I couldn't find a reason, an argument against it. I could have debated like sitting around crystals in a room or something with my background, but breathing as an engineer, as an athlete, is like, yeah, everybody needs to do that.
Hmm.
It's, mhm.
Yeah. I think that's such a great first step for anyone who is new to personal growth, you know? Like, I've had people approach me recently who are just like, steeped in depression, probably, probably haven't done a lot of spiritual work or personal growth. And they're just like, hey, I want to know about mushrooms. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like I need to jump into a plant medicine journey. And I'm like, um,
yeah,
I I don't know if that's really the first place that you want to start. And yeah, I honestly like starting with the breath, I think is so important, and especially when there's a lot of stuff in there that needs to be released. I think a lot of folks too are resistant to different types of therapy and things out there too. Like they might not be ready to be witnessed or to have somebody, prying into like, some of the things that they find private and aren't ready to share yet. I think it's a really potent way to just kind of start there, get started with breath work.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm
for
going to
sure.
recommend to people now. It's something that I've been thinking about because it is coming up more, and I'm like, okay, I can't be recommending the same thing. Like what has worked for me and what I find potent is not for everyone, but I think breath work truly is. That's a really, really great first step. And I think also for men too, I see it, and I don't know if it's just because, of Wim Hof and making it more popular.
Mm,
And he seems like a really manly guy. And,
yeah,
ice baths seem really cool and whatever. But I'm very grateful that we have that for the men's community, so that it is something that it feels like might be easier to step into than something that might seem like a little bit more feminine or woo woo,
yeah,
but still have like such a big impact.
uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm. I want to know a little bit more about what you guys do at the stretch space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, stretch space. Me and my wife Carolyn opened it 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things we do is hands-on stretch therapy, which is movement-based therapy. So you could think of it as kind of like the opposite of massage. Instead of pushing and rubbing and mostly in stillness, we're pulling and moving the body around. So you allow yourself to let go as a client or recipient, and you just get moved around. There's kind of a flowy nature to it. Um, it was created by dancers, physios, and stuff, but yeah, it's kind of moving with the client and allowing them to move in different ways. And yeah, a really, really good, really great modality. That, and we teach others our work now. It's something we've stepped into more recently. We actually have a course coming up this weekend, but we're starting to train others in how to do this work. Um, and we also do breath work, one-on-one breathwork journeys, Wim Hof. Yeah, those would be the main things that we do at the studio, and it's becoming a strong community space too. There's a lot of community events there, and other people rent the space
Cool.
and that. But
I'm really curious about the stretching. So what is the bet? I mean, like obviously, I do yoga and all that sort of stuff. And if I haven't moved my body and like stretched in a while, it feels
yeah,
not great. But this sounds like it's a
yeah,
totally different technique. Like, are you guys working on like myofascial release? Or like what, like how does it all work? What are the
yeah,
benefits?
yeah, yeah. Well, we're addressing issues that are mostly caused by a lack of movement or lack of healthy movement, with more movement. So as we keep modernizing our world, we're outsourcing our movement to technology. So
Mm-hmm.
we are, for example, the thermostat, it takes care of the heat. We don't have to light the fire. I used to have to walk up U Street to go to the bank, and now I do it on my phone. Um, the just so many situations where we're needing to move less. Even the reverse camera in the car, we don't have to turn the neck anymore.
Oh
So
my
we'll
God,
start.
that's so true. Ooh.
So we'll start to lose the ability to rotate the neck as well when we stop doing it. And as we start looking down at the phone, we'll start and not looking up as much. We're going to have a bias that way. So our fascia and our tissue starts to create the shape that we most often make, and we also start to lose expression as we come into less and less movements. Using our everything in front of us, screen. We're not really using our shoulders like we would. And so this is a way of, we'll take care of the movement for you. You let go, and we're going to move the body through all the possible ways. It can create some new neural pathways. It can really kind of open up some stuff, and then ultimately, so so the word stretching, people might think of like a big, huge stretch, like a ballet dancer just stretching, doing the splits for half an hour. Very extreme. But this is, the body moves in many different ways. So we're stretching a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. But it's more movement that leads into the stretch. So if you imagine you reached up to maybe fix a light bulb, that's a stretch, That's a stretch. But I think of it more really as movement. And so we're restoring movement first in a relaxed state, and then what we teach is doing that in an active way, and ultimately moving yourself in those ways as well is the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. And are there any aspects to like emotional health with these techniques too? Or is it just purely physical?
Yeah, there definitely are. No, it's definitely not purely physical. Um, your issues are in your tissues is
Hmm.
one thing I like to say. So if two people have an office job, one of them loves their job and they're absolutely just, their dad did it. They just, this is cool. They're loving it. And the other person really doesn't like their job. The posture of the person that really doesn't like it will probably be not as open, even though they're sitting in the same chair doing the same thing. So the posture is reflecting his emotional state. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's hard to be really open and feel depressed. It's hard to be really kind of closed and feel really joyful. So yeah, totally. I mean, there's movement patterns. Smokers
Mm-hmm.
might have that pattern of that one kind of movement, it can definitely unlock some stuff. Um, Especially if you combine it with breath work, which I really like to
Mm.
play with. Is getting into a little bit of breath, doing the stretch. The more someone's embodied and feeling, the better it's going to be, the more effective it's going to be.
Hmm. Yeah. Someone told me once that like your emotions are stored in your fascia. And I was like, oh shit, that's really profound. And, especially what you mentioned too about being so sedentary and stuff now, like I definitely feel it even right now. I've
Yeah,
needed to do a lot of resting this
yeah,
past few weeks as I've been moving through a lot of things and taking some homeopathic remedies that I've been taking for a few months. I'm in like the real big detox phase right now, which has been
yeah,
very uncomfortable and humbling. And it's made like I just can't do a lot at this point. And so it's a lot of moving around and just kind of letting emotions and stuff pass through.
yeah,
But yeah, like it does, not moving creates tension within the body that needs to be released. And I can see how the emotional aspect gets in there as well. Actually, a really interesting experience that I had through this healing process that I'm doing right now. The first month that I was taking these homeopathics, we were kind of targeting kidneys. And I was getting these detox symptoms. Like my lower back was just killing me. And I was like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. Like, I need to do something. So I went and YouTubed a Kundalini exercise for kidneys.
mm,
And the exercise had you put your hands on your hips and you're twisting. So you're doing a twisting motion. And as you're
oh
twisting,
yeah,
you're kind of pushing your thumbs into your kidneys. And I think I twisted maybe like 2 or 3 times and then just started sobbing.
oh wow,
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, wasn't expecting that to happen. But yeah, like clearly
mm-hmm.
like these emotions and stuff were stuck in that organ system and I was able to move it through movement and breath. There was a breath aspect too. So like as
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
twisting, I'm also breathing a certain way. But yeah, that's actually how it works. Like this is such a crazy paradigm that I don't think a lot of people
yeah.
understand. But a lot of the physical illnesses that we have stem from emotions.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. I think movement's still undervalued. It's still seen as like fitness. But it's really so essential to our health, which seems like an obvious thing to say. If we didn't move, we would, really not do. We would not be well for
No,
sure.
for
Right?
sure.
It's
Yeah.
all moving energy. So you mentioned the tension in the body. It's all moving energy. Breath work is moving energy. Movement is moving energy. And if you see a child, a baby or a child, they're always moving energy. If they're
Mm.
frustrated, they just let it go right away. If they want to have a sound, they make a sound. They're always moving their body. They're always moving. And then we kind of have, get molded into this socially appropriate way of being, walking through the world in straight lines and sitting on our chairs and, eating certain ways and stuff. We kind of lose that full expression and stifle certain, yeah, movement and emotions and breath, and they're all tied together, right? They're all important.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
But breathing our movement can change our breathing. Like we could sometimes lay down and do 20 minutes of breath, but sometimes we could just express a lot of anger or just shout or go on top of a mountain and laugh your head off, and that's going to also change your breathing.
Yeah.
Maybe much quicker, possibly, if that's what you're needing. So movement, sound, any kind of moving energy can influence the breath. So sometimes we need breath work, and sometimes we can just need to move some energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time, but before we go, tell me about this land that you bought.
Mm.
Every time you mention it, I can kind of just see like this happiness.
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
face. Tell me all about this.
yeah. The land is a dream come true. It's on Vancouver Island in the Cowichan Valley. We bought 10 acres with some dear friends of ours. So yeah, it's just gonna be. It's just everything I've dreamed for. It's the ultimate kind of security for me,
Mm,
really, to have that spot with the food and our own water, and yeah, and
yeah.
something that we're just taking step by step and listening to the land. And
Oh, it's such a beautiful area too. My grandparents lived in Duncan, close by there for many years, and I spent a lot of time on Cowichan River in
yeah,
that
we're
whole
five
area.
minute walk from Cowichan River.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
good.
it's beautiful.
Floating down that river is
Yeah,
like one of the most magical things. Yeah.
yeah, we're right there by the floating epicenter.
Nice.
Yeah, I recommend, the land. It's a lot of work to do it in community, but it's very possible, and we still have a lot to learn, a lot of things to overcome, and all that. But I would say the most important thing is the relationships, and knowing people and having that ability to what we call counsel, to meet regularly and discuss openly any concerns and
Mhm.
issues. And the more frequently you do that, the less stuff festers, and the more you can just come to terms and make remedy with what's fair, what's reasonable, and you can get yourself a portion of land for less than the cheapest condo in Vancouver.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I'd be open to sharing with anyone if anyone's really serious looking and needs a couple of tips. I think it's great movement for us to move into. Like I say, it's the opposite of the Netflix life. The,
Mhm.
the serial killers and the murders and all that all that drama on there. This is just for me. My vision is just to live on the land.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel very called to do the same thing. Been waiting for the right time and circumstances, but
yeah,
especially with everything that's happened over the past few years, I'm like, whoo, yeah, that sovereignty needs to happen. Food security, community with like minded individuals. We don't know what the future holds in store for us, but we can see how things can turn into a pretty epic shit show very
hmm,
quickly. And having some agency over our lives and the decisions that we make is extremely important to me. And I think a lot of the people in our community and the people that listen to this podcast, and not everybody will be able to do that, right? Like there's lots of things that you can
no,
do at home and in
it's
the city, and a lot of people choose to live in cities, and like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But yeah, that way of life is definitely calling to me as well. So amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today and this wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
yeah. Thanks for all the questions. I really appreciate that, and yeah, I would love to get to know you a bit better. Maybe we can have another conversation offline at
Yeah.
some point. But
Well, and I'm going to be in Vancouver next week. Maybe I don't know what your guys' schedules are like, but I could use some I could use all kinds of things right now with what's
yeah,
going on in my life. So,
for
yeah,
sure.
maybe I'll
Yeah,
come
yeah,
for
yeah.
a
Hit
visit.
me up, and
Cool.
yeah. So thanks
And for
again. And
everybody listening, how can they connect? Like you mentioned, you're doing some teacher training, you're doing like all of the stuff. Like
yeah,
how like do people need to be in Vancouver in order to, access your services? Do you have stuff online? What's going on there?
yeah. The Stretch Space. You'll find a lot of my stuff on the Stretch Space on Instagram. The Stretch Space, or under my name, Cian Dalton. But the thing that's really lighting me up now is these true nature retreats that I'm doing, just helping people step into their true authentic self through the simple tools of nature. The next one is
Hmm.
June 16th weekend on Vancouver Island,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, lots of other fun stuff. But happy to connect with anyone.
Wonderful. Well, I hope everyone listening learned a few things, and make sure you reach out to Cian if you have any questions, and we'll catch you all on the next episode.
Thank you. Thanks for all the good work.
Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life, and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big magic box, containing all 3 of our beautiful magic lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.